If you're a business owner out there, I want to ask you a question. Do you want to be rich? Let me ask you a better question. Do you want to make sure that you're not miserable when you become rich? If your answer is yes to that, then today's pod is for you. Welcome back to the Believe in Business Podcast. I am your host, Brian Adamson. I have with me my guest co-host, the one and only Praise. And just appreciate all the feedback, everybody loving this dynamic of Praise kind of teeing me up with questions. And a lot of these questions are obviously thought of from the perspective of the audience, right? Praise is asking me things that he believes that you guys want to know. And so I just appreciate you, bro, your time, your sacrifice to be able to be here to help to continue to evolve the conversation and make it better for the audience. And as always, if this is helpful for you guys, share this with somebody, like it, comment, all the good YouTube things. If you're watching on YouTube or if you're listening to it on Audible, give it some stars or something. Like, do something to make it go out further, right? Appreciate y'all. P, we got to have a conversation today because a lot of the time I feel as though people talk about externally scaling. How do I get more money? How do I get more leads? How do I get more people? How do I do more externally? But we never talk about scaling internally.
That's good.
And your boy got a PhD in this particular area because in 2018, I had my first $1 million year. I was 35 years old. I was still in corporate America, soon to transition out. I thought when I finally got there, and we didn't just make 8 million, we was like 1.6. And I thought when I got there that all problems in the world would be gone. Like, I would never have another problem again. To only get there, and if I thought I was depressed before, then I don't know how to describe the state that I was in when I got there. I was drinking more. I was more unfulfilled. I was empty. There wasn't stuff that I could buy that would fill the void. I was like, so now what? If the thing I thought that once I got there would fix and cure all ills, because when you grow up on the west side of Detroit in the 800 square foot bungalow and your father's a firefighter and your mother is a cashier at a grocery store, then of course making $1 million will be the thing that'll solve everything in your life until it don't. And during COVID, a short couple years after that, God took me through this whole process, this purging, this painful, yet productive and promising process. And during that time, I felt God's love through chastisement and correction over all the things that I didn't scale internally as I was scaling externally. And I've been praying and praying and praying and grinding and grinding and grinding and hustling and hustling and hustling. Sowing and reaping is a real thing. God will allow that to happen because it's a principle. He's not going to go against his own principle. So I put the right seeds in the ground. I produced the harvest that I wanted, but then found out that the fruit was making me sick. And so I know this to be true. This is one of the main reasons why God prompted me to start a Believers in Business community, where we helping business owners get stronger in their faith, their fitness, their finance, their freedom, and their family life, because I failed in all 5 of them pillars. All 5 of them effing pillars, right? Pun intended, all effing pillars. And this one right here, man, I'm telling you right now, if your character don't scale with your gifting, you're gonna find yourself in a place that you won't be able to stay. So I just think that's a good place to open up there, man. I love to hear kind of what your thoughts are and questions are as a result of that.
Yeah, man, you got away with words. I thank God for your gift of communication. Reason being is because, like you said, we are so focused on scaling externally, and I don't even think people really know what scaling internally is. It sounds good, right? And the idea may sound beautiful, but the work is not. It's treacherous, as you know. So can you just elaborate on what does scaling internally look like? Like, what is that? If I was just some random dude on the street, how would you say what is scaling internally?
Scaling internally is a couple different things. The first one is this, though. The result of scaling internally will disallow you to compromise what matters most for the sake of scaling externally. I'm gonna say that again. The outcome of scaling internally will disallow you from compromising the things that matter most for the sake of scaling externally. And so there were a lot of things during that season by which I was chasing that. There were business dealings and relationships that I was involved in that I was willing to compromise on things that I knew to be true internally for the sake of scaling externally, which is why I ended up in that rich but yet empty and miserable state. I was doing business with people that I couldn't stand and be around. I compromised on decisions that I knew weren't right holistically, but I could manipulate them and justify them into being right for the circumstance. There were clients that I never would have hired as clients. You hear me say hired as clients, right? That's how I look at it. I would have never hired them as clients if my internal rudder was so sound that I was unwilling to compromise that for external results. But I was so fixated on achieving that $1 million accomplishment that it was because internally I was off. And so what scaling internally looks like building a foundation that's rooted in enough faith that you understand at all times that he in control and his will is best. And obviously that starts with the Bible and a relationship with Christ. It starts with that. Okay. But then it evolves into actually doing what the Bible says, though. And all of it, not the parts that you feel good about. The other parts, like, I punt on that one. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what they was thinking that day. Doubt on the plot. That one don't apply to me. That was 2 years ago. You know, they lost context. They didn't know what was up ahead. So, you know, I'll help them out with a revision at some later date that makes more sense for this point in time that I'm in. Right? We can't cherry pick the Bible. We can't cherry pick the text. You know, don't hold a worker's wages overnight. Means that you got money, pay people. Right? We can't manipulate the text and then think we're going to have the type of fruit in our lives that we say we want. You're going to get some fruit. It just won't be the fruit you like a whole lot. It'd be you can eat lemons. Lemon is a fruit. You know what I'm saying? You can eat a lemon. You get my point, right? So starting with that, setting the foundation, setting non-negotiables, actually living out the text as intended, not taking it out of context for the sake of whatever it is that you're trying to manipulate, situation you're trying to manipulate. But then scaling your integrity, scaling your self-awareness, scaling your relational intelligence, scaling your leadership, scaling your ability to self-coach. Like, this is what I mean by scaling internally. And for the last almost 3 years now, that's all I've been focused on. Because what happens is, see, I've gotten enough business coaching, not that I would still pay for more, but I've gotten enough business coaching that has given me certain skill sets that I know levers to pull to make money. I know what levers to pull to make $1 million, right? So much so that I help others pull levers to make $1 million. So these are skills now that I have. This is muscle memory that I've developed. I made a vow to myself that there's no amount of money I want at the expense of everything that I felt when I made that first $1 million. And so to safeguard myself from that becoming a reality again in my life at the next height, whatever that is, then I know the most important thing is becoming the person that can, watch this, be content in all circumstances, in excess or in a base, as Paul describes it. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. But he was talking about being content in all circumstances. He meant through the power of Christ, I could be content in excess and I could be content in the base. I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. But we just exegete, I can do all things through Christ out and then apply whatever we want to apply to it. That's not what Paul was saying. He was saying through the strength of Christ, I can be content in either circumstance. By scaling internally, then that now empowers me with the tools to walk that scripture out, that I can have joy, peace, abundance. If the bank account on E, I can have joy, peace, and abundance when it's oodles and oodles of cash in there. And so that's when I figured out that the most important thing is to figure out how to scale yourself internally. How to scale you know, like, well, I mean, I could tell you, when you rich, you know what I'm saying? Like, bro, decisions become easier. Certain decisions. I was just thinking about this the other day because I'm much more frugal this go around. And I'm like, you know, like, I'm hungry. You know what I'm saying? I'm hungry. What we about to get to eat? And I don't know what that is. Like, what would you normally eat if you was hungry? Like, what would you go get to eat?
Probably some like Chipotle,
Chick-fil-A. Hey, thank you. So like Chipotle, Chick-fil-A, right? And I'm not coming for Chipotle or Chick-fil-A. Part of this reason as to why I couldn't come up with a good example is because I'm pescatarian. So I don't even eat fast food because there's not really a lot of options for me anyway, right? So, which, I mean, Chipotle is kind of quick service restaurant, so that's not fast. That's healthier fast food, if you will. But Chick-fil-A, Chipotle. I'd be hungry and go to Roof Chris. You know what I'm saying? Like, for whatever hour they open, if it was one of the locations that opened up a little bit earlier, you know, you slide in there for a late lunch, early dinner. So that's what I mean. Like, you don't think about those decisions to just go spend $200-300 on a meal. You don't think about going to the mall and you see a pair of shoes you like, you just drop $5.75 for them. Like, you don't, you know, you go to the Robert Graham store and it's like, oh, they got 3 for $300 button ups. Like, I'm about to, like, you don't think about those things because you know the amount of money that you produce that you make those decisions without a secondary thought. Well, what do you think happens when you scale internally? What do you think what happens when you get a client that you know ain't a good fit? Don't let them in without a secondary thought. What about when you know that your discernment has picked up that there's something off with this person's character and yet they want to be a business partner of yours? You get rid of them without a secondary thought. So just as much as the external fruit allows for you to make decisions without a secondary thought, when you scale yourself internally, you can do the very same thing.
Man, that's good, B. And I wanted to ask you because, you know, just to give them more insight. One of your statements that I've even used recently, like I was telling you about my recent job interview and stuff like that. I told her about making miserable millions, but I wouldn't have known that if the man himself sitting in front of me didn't make miserable millions. So what was that life like? You know, you had the millions and you said you were drinking more, you were, you know, more unfulfilled. It's funny because people think money will help them find purpose or money will just solve all their problems, like you said, but it wasn't the case for you. So what was that lifestyle like, living in miserable millions? Because I'm not gonna lie, if I had billions, I don't know if I'd be as miserable, but you had a different experience. So what was that?
I wouldn't have thought it either, bro. It was one of those situations where, and this when I decided I was gonna stop drinking. I was on the precipice this particular night. We had a Christmas party with the team out in Hollywood, LA. So at this time in 2018, my marketing team was out in like LA, San Diego. So I used to go, my marketing team was between LA and San Diego. So I used to go back and forth a lot from Florida all the way to the West Coast. Like every month I was out there. And so we have a Christmas party. We go downtown at the Bonaventure. They got like a rotating steakhouse on the top floor of the Bonaventure. So we up there, we having a good old time. Pre-gaming for the night, we going out. Club called Argyle. I don't know if it's still open or not. It was a club named Argyle Hollywood. I was a tequila guy, right? Tequila connoisseur. So I liked, at that time, Casamigos. But now, like I was always ahead of the mass production on these different brands. And so now it's watered down. It ain't what it used to be. But I just remember being in Argyle. And while I looked around and watched everybody. And I'm like, they having a ball right now. Every time I order a bottle, I get one drink and I look up and the bottle's gone again. And I'm like, bro, we spent like $7,000 in this club that night. It's okay.
What? Then you go say 700.
Yeah. And I'm like, what are we doing? Then the guy like left his phone. So he had to go back because we went to another place after that. And then it just was all I was just like, what am I doing? Like I done survived the streets. I done survived. Like what am I doing? So then, like the next trip I go out there, which is like 2 weeks after, I get looped in with this guy, and he had two yachts. One of them was 80 something foot, the other one was like 100 and something foot. So we take the 100 something foot yacht out. I get invitation to go, and I'm running late, and so I had to stop at Fountain Blue, and I had to get a bottle, right? So I get a bottle of Avion, $40-something bottle in the store. I paid $500 for this bottle at Fountain Blue to take it with me on this yacht across the street, right? I'm just like, what am I doing? What am I doing, right? And so, as you can hear in my stories, like, and I know y'all like, I used to drink a lot. I did. That's what I'm saying. Like, it was one of those things where, as an example, I was watching Michael Irvin story, famous Dallas Cowboy and all of that, and made millions of dollars in the league, but had his bouts with drinking and cocaine, right? And one would think he had millions of dollars. What would make him go on these benders? And bro, it's what Will Smith described as, a lot of the time we put so much emphasis on people hitting rock bottom, but there's an inverse of that that's called cliff top, where you can get so high up there in your world that it leaves you with the same feeling as if you was at rock bottom. And he calls it cliff top. Yeah. And that's what it was for me. Like, I was at cliff top. Nobody around me that was a part of my circle could identify with where I was at. The people that could identify with where I was at, I hated being around. But for the sake of getting money, we were together. So it just was this lonely place. That here I have everything at my fingertips, but none of it is fulfilling me. And so it's only so much that you can buy. It's only so much you could drink. There's only so much that you can wear. It becomes like, what am I doing? That was the question I asked myself more often than not, was what am I doing? And just so happened, after that last run in December, January 2019, I quit drinking. I felt the Lord say, okay, now you get it. You got all of this. You thought before you were doing that to distract yourself until you got where you wanted to go. Now you got where you wanted to go, and it's worse. So now what? I was like, okay, here you go. I'm through. Right? Ain't had a drink in almost 7 years now, by his grace. But it was interesting because when I finally surrendered to him, that January 2019, my wife and I gave more than we ever have that next year. Like, we gave six figures. And I just saw how he increased my influence, my territory. And I just didn't want to show up on social media inconsistent. I didn't want to be the guy partying and all the things, and then scripture and partying scripture. And I'm not nice. There's a lot of people that still caught up. I get it. I ain't knocking y'all at all. Trust me. But I just felt like for where he was taking me, there were going to have to be some fundamental changes, and drinking was one of them. And then it was kind of like, if I became a millionaire with all these bad habits, I wonder what it could look like if I don't. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Man, that's good, bro, because I don't think it gets talked about enough. I see a lot of people with influence, with the millions, and I see a lot of people wishing that they wish they were that person. And it's like, I see people always wish for the blessing and not the backside of the blessing. Right. So it's like, I like the way your life looks, but it's like, what did it take for you to get there? You had to go from.
By the way, I just thought about this. By the way, the time when I went down to South Florida to get on that yacht, I drove. So my Lexus was at the dealership, so they gave me a loaner truck. I drove the truck. I let one of the guys that was working for me at the time use the car that night. He loses the keys, right? My wife had to drive from Orlando, from getting the extra key from the dealership. She had to drive from Orlando down to Miami to bring the extra key, which, I mean, I got money. So we turned that into a party. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, right? So we having a good, you may as well just stay. You here now. You know what I mean? So we go out on the yacht. I don't even know if we sobered up from the night before. It was a long, like we just went from place to place. We had Prime 112 Steakhouse, like all you see all the stars walking by, like we was in the mix. We go out on
Next time you party,
go out on the yacht. We go out on the yacht, bro, and we taking this yacht around Miami, 100 foot yacht. We taking this yacht around Miami, and we stopping off places like it's a subway station. Let's dock here. Let's run in this bar. Let's dock here and go in this restaurant. We are docking this 100-foot yacht. Just when we get off here, or maybe the team can edit in a picture of a 100-foot yacht so y'all can get an idea of how we just stopping off random places while we on this yacht. Bro, I never forget. I had these black suede Bacobucci's.
Baca what?
It's an Italian designer, bro.
Oh, you got it like that. He said Baca Bucci.
And the leather on the sole is like this very refined leather. We getting off to go in this one restaurant, and I'm getting off the back of the boat, bro, and my foot slipped. Listen to me. My foot slipped. Now it's December, so we on the yacht, but I got on luckily I had on black pants. I had on a sweater. Bro, I slipped and I know God was on my side. So they got these big ropes that they use to tie off the yacht. When I slipped, bro, mind you, we're in the ocean, right? But you don't see it that way because you're just getting off the dock, but you in the ocean. The boat is in the ocean. I'm going in, and all I saw was these two ropes up ahead of me. It was the ropes that they used to tie. So I'm doing a pull up. I'm holding on to these ropes. Bro, it's people everywhere. You know what I'm saying? And
wow.
Thank God. So like from my calves down, my legs go in the water. But luckily my whole body, it was the ocean. You know what I'm saying? And so I had on black pants and black suede shoes, and so I walked around. We was still everybody else didn't fall in. I just did. So we still went to the spot for a minute. And yeah, bro. It's just God has his way of getting our attention, and it just look like little stuff like to some that's like not a big deal for me, bro. That disturbs everything in my inner being. You know what I'm saying? Like, dude, like it took everything in me just even tell y'all this. By the way, this probably be the most shared episode too. You know what I'm saying? Like, we was out here tripping, but no, I just say that to say it's important that we keep the main thing, because we a lot of time out here trying to build these successful businesses, and what we really end up doing is building ourselves a prison. And I was in prison, bro. That the essence of everything that was happening was I was in an expensive prison with a lot of luxuries, if you will, but it was still prison nonetheless.
Man, yeah, you listen. He said Bacabucci. He said 100-foot yacht. I'm trying to listen to the takeaways of the story. I'm just hearing the lifestyle.
Bro,
man.
We were on this yacht. This guy, he was from Texas. He was young too. He's probably like, at that time I was probably 35, 36. He was maybe in his late 20s, early 30s. He came from oil, but he was big in the tech industry. So like his family was billionaires, but he was probably doing close to 8 figures a year himself in the tech industry. And I remember we was on the yacht, and he was like, yeah, man, I think I'm just gonna hang out in Miami a little while longer. As a matter of fact, we're just gonna take the yacht to Puerto Rico. What you doing? What you doing the rest of the week? He was like, the fuel would be like 30 grand. We could just split it. You like bring your girl. We just go to Puerto Rico. I mean, take like 3 days to get there, and then I was just like, bro. So I mean, that's all I'm telling you, bro. It's money give you access, right? Money just it give you access. What it gives you access to is predicated on how well you are when you have it.
Mm,
Because we
mm.
attract who we attract
That's
who we
good.
become. We attract who we become.
That's good. Wow. Listen, man. If I didn't even know that, y'all. So the listeners and viewers, listen. And I've been under B since March, so I know it took a
I've
lot out of
never
him.
shared this story publicly, bro. Never have I shared this publicly. Never have I shared this publicly. And probably never won't, but never have I shared this publicly.
Man. Yeah, I knew that took a lot. That's crazy. But I'm glad you even shared it, because this goes to show you, like, money just shows you who you really are. It's so funny because I remember when I was making some money, and and it's so funny because the illusion of money is like, and I can even speak on it. I thought when I started making money, I'd be disciplined. I thought when I started making money, I'd be more consistent. I thought when I started making money, I'd be a good steward. I thought when I started making money, I'd eat healthier. It's like I started making money and did the total opposite of everything that I said I was going to do.
I'm telling you.
I get money, I start eating everything I'm not supposed to
I'm
eat.
telling you, man. I seen John Hope Bryant posted a clip that said, behind every successful man is a tired woman. And I said, ain't that true? My wife drove 3.5 hours to bring me a key from the dealership, bro. You know what I'm saying?
Man, yeah, she a real
Bro,
one. That's a real one right
get
there.
anything she want,
Three
bro.
hours.
She get anything she want in life because, yeah, man. Behind every successful man is
Yeah, 3 hour drive to give you a key. Oh yeah, she that's a keeper for sure. That's a keeper for sure. So, what would you say, for people who are, trying to scale internally and grow internally? What are some non-negotiables that they can implement, or what are some standards they can implement, or any just practical steps they can implement to start or to begin to scale internally? Or a better question, what did you do to begin to scale internally? So you had those miserable millions. What did you begin to start doing that was like that was that breakthrough of scaling internally?
man. I had to fully surrender to God.
Mm.
And it was steps. It's some of the things I haven't even gotten permission to talk about, right?
Wow.
But it was full submission. So what happens is, for most of us, we submit to God in sections. Okay, God, I'm gonna honor you with my tithing, as an example, right? I'm gonna give you my finances. Okay, God, I'm gonna give you the drinking and the drugging. I'm gonna give you that part. Okay, God, I'm gonna give you this porn. I'm gonna give you, right? Like we surrender in sections as a people. When God says, I'm God of all, or I'm not God at all. I'm God of all, or I'm not God at all. In your life, I'm God of all, or I'm not God at all. Because no different than the children of Israel, they could do everything else the right way, but then still had these idols. What was the thing that pissed God off most about? It wasn't their ability to maintain religiosity, it was the idols. And so what happens is we'll give God everything that we feel comfortable with giving him, but we still hold on to our idol. For some people, that P word is, I forgot, you can't even say stuff, I guess now. So the P word is an idol. For some people, gambling is an idol. For some people, fornication is an idol. Drinking is an idol. Drugging is an idol. Their parents are idols, right? It's like all idols don't necessarily have to seem bad. Some of them are good, but they still take the place of God, so they're not. So for me, it was getting to a place of fully surrender and it was steps. That's what I mean. In 2019, it was drinking. 2020, because I'd already quit drugging and partying by the end, but the drinking was the last thing. 2020 is when the best thing that could have happened was COVID. Like I wasn't up to that point. I was traveling a couple times a month for years. I was home. I had to deal with things that I could normally get on the plane and escape from. Right. Not to say the crib situation was bad, but it wasn't whole, and it was because of me. You know what I'm saying? Because work, money, influence, all those things had become a convenient excuse to not look at everything. Right. So 2020, I had to sit still. I had to deal with all of that. And it was the best thing that could have happened for me introspectively, because God made it abundantly clear during that time, all these various changes that I needed to continue to make internally. The way I viewed things, bro, your boy 911. Anybody could get it. Disrespect, talk crazy. Like 911. I'm 911. I don't even, I clock all the way out. Well, I couldn't then, and I cannot be that guy anymore. I can't be Yosemite Sam. It takes a proper level of patience. The fruits of the spirit. That's why we can't do it by ourselves.
Right.
Kindness, self-control, patience, all those are love, fruits of the spirit. I couldn't be that by me. So what happened was until I quit drinking in 2019, although I got saved when I was 18, right? So I had about 17 years of being a lukewarm Christian that tithed consistently. That's what I was. I was a lukewarm Christian that tithed consistently. Unbeknownst to me, when I finally started to evolve and really go through the sanctification process, did I find out that most believers, their biggest struggle is giving. I'm like, I've been doing that. That was the only thing I ever did right.
Right.
But what God was showing me was, He like, that's cool, and I'm glad I got your heart for that. I can use that. I could do something with that, through that, all that. But I got to get you over here on this side, though. I don't just want you to prosper financially. I want your soul to prosper. And so, yeah, I had to give Him everything, bro, that I've always held on to as defense mechanisms, weapons, all the things that I thought I needed to complete me are inherently, now that I think about it, are all the things I had to give up.
Mm.
And once I fully surrendered to doing it His way, gave Him everything, bro. No more, this is mine. No more shame. Can't talk about that. No more, we're going to have to keep this one between us. And there was no more, none of that. It's about a 2-year process of Him cleaning out the clutter, bro. First Corinthians 13:11. When I was a child, I spoke as a child, I reasoned as a child, but when I became a man, I put away childish things. That 2-year process from 2020, 2022 was Him. We was cleaning out the toy chest, gave it away. That's why when I show up online, I show up so serious, because it is serious for me. This ain't no game at all. I ain't on here to entertain and all that. I'm trying to help some people get to where they're trying to go. Because I know what that look like. There's enough people out there to teach you how to be a fool on social media. I ain't him, because I was really good at that too. Well before the cameras came on.
Yeah. That was good, B. I appreciate the transparency. I really do. It needs to be heard. I think people forget millionaires are humans as well. And yeah, man, I just appreciate your humanity in this conversation, because it gets overlooked. It's underrated in this generation of just instant gratification, of AI, of technology. And technology isn't bad, but the overconsumption, anything you do overly, but I just appreciate it, man. I feel like you hit everything on the nail just by your story, just telling the truth and just sharing the ways that we can scale internally. And I just really just pray that the listeners just take away that The money ain't gonna change everything. It's not. So yeah, I appreciate you, B. This is great, man. This
Yeah,
is
man.
great.
We talk a lot about auditing your circle, but you need to audit yourself.
Mm.
Because we attract who we become. If you got scumbags around you, I'm not just saying, but I am saying go investigate it though. Because typically the toxicity in those relationships are the common thread that's keeping y'all together. When I quit drinking and drugging, bro, and I got away from a lot of those relationships, or them relationships started to get away from me. Because what happens is you become a mirror for them. So even though you're like, no, I'm cool, I just ain't doing that. They can't stomach having you around because you're reminding them of what they may already know to be wrong for them, but they just not willing to have the discipline, the self-love or Christ to make them decisions, to make that they like, because they don't have the willpower. It's like, yeah, that's why you need Christ. Because his strength is made perfect in our weakness. His word said that he'll always give us a way out of sin. But we got to be in harmony. We got to be in unison. We got to be submitted. We got to be surrendered. We got to yield. We got to do all those things. And you can't play with him like that. He's either God of all or he's not God at all in your life. And when you make him God of all, everything changes. Everything changes. And I got tired of my temporary fix. It's like, I need to stay plugged in at all times.
It's good. It's good. Yeah, I appreciate you, B. This is great. This is great.
So let us know in the comments, man, give us a couple ways that you think, just looking at your life right now, what are some things that you can do to scale internally so that you can sustain when you do scale externally? I ain't got to tell y'all to share this one. I know y'all go ahead. You know what I'm saying? This is society we live in. Y'all go ahead and put this one out there. I'll probably end up on TMZ later, and that's cool because we can use the reach. So they say all publicity is good publicity. So I appreciate you, Pete. This was a good one, man. And we look forward to seeing y'all in the next one.